Good evening, everyone. A very warm welcome to this webinar session organized by Analytics India magazine in association with Analyttica Datalab. And for today's session, the topic is the present and future of data science and machine learning, LEAPS program, why and why now? I'm Sajati, and I am the associate editor at Analytics India magazine, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. To give you guys a brief background, while the COVID pandemic has forced all the companies to cut down their expenditure, data science and machine learning have turned out to be a massive savior for all these companies to go for a digital transformation journey. This in turn has overwhelmed the demand for the trained data scientists and skilled professionals who can lead organizations' technology front and create efficient strategies for their business continuity. So, to give us more insights on how to make a career in data science in the post-pandemic world, we have organized this webinar with esteemed speakers. Introducing our speakers for the session, we have Mr. Satyamay Chatterjee, the Executive Vice President at Analyttica Datalab, with 18 plus years of global experience, with a deep focus on banking and financial services industry. Satyamay actively involved in driving the technology-enabled solution strategy for Analyttica. Along with him, we have Dr. Rahul Rai, the Dean's Extinguished Professor at Clemson University. With industrial research center experiences, Dr. Rahul's research is mainly focused on developing computational tools for manufacturing, cyber-physical system, collaborative human technology system, diagnostic, prognostic, etc. So, gentlemen, welcome to the webinar. So,
thank you.
Hi Rahul, hi Satyamay. A really warm welcome to this webinar again. And so we will just delve into the questions and understand more on how to make a career in this post-pandemic world in the data science field. Rahul, will start with you. So considering you have been in this analytics and data science field for over a decade, how do you think the space has evolved, not only as a business vertical, but also as an industry?
Thank you, Sujati, for such a generous introduction. I really appreciate that. First of all, I want to begin with that this topic of data science and its future and its applicability in the job market is a very, very pertinent and relevant topic that we should be talking about. And now coming on and answering the question that you have, we know that the data science has really helped businesses dramatically improve the effectiveness and the efficiencies of the process and operations through the use of big data, machine learning, AI, and cloud computing infrastructure. Now, first of all, I want to talk about the existing success in business market that AI and ML has, sort of instituted and have proven their method, right? So when we talk about that, especially existing success in last 10 to 15 years in the domain of marketing, social networking, ad placement, client data management, started the onset of large scale or industrial adaptation of data science in businesses. Today, most of the data scientists that have shown promise in making a business case basically work in the tech domain, okay, in the technology domain. And while year 2020 has been very tumultuous and very disruptive for many industries, yet the demand for the data scientist has experienced a significant growth. Okay, now I will give you some pointers, some statistics on the growth of this market. If you look into dice.com, which is one of the job placement website in US, according to dice.com, which is an e-job hosting company, demand for data scientists have increased 50% across the healthcare, telecommunication, media, banking, and insurance sector in last couple of years. And that's the growth rate that we have. Okay. Now, and obviously the technology people are still not, the big leaders and big companies are using it, and all the other companies technology companies are going to adopt those things. But going forward, I strongly believe that it's going to significantly impact the autonomy domain. For example, autonomous vehicle, robotics, food and agriculture, and manufacturing processes, both at the system and at the process level. Okay, so what we are talking going forward, if you look into some of the recent stats, I was reading some of the updates and data on the data science field itself. People are projecting that by 2025, the data science industry, and especially focused on AI and machine learning, is going to be worth $125 billion. Okay, and for the next 10 years, the growth rate in the data science domain across all the different fields is going to be close to another like 60 to 70%. So those are the projected growth. Those are the future growth that people are expecting. Now, one of the key challenges, and hopefully we will be talking some about that we see this projected growth, but do we really have a trained workforce to basically sustain this growth and bring a disruption in this marketplace? And I think what we are talking today is how do we prepare the workforce so that they can leverage this onset of what I call the data science tsunami that is going to disrupt a lot of business and industry.
Correct, Rahul. Very rightly pointed out. Adding to this, I would like to understand what is the corporate view to this entire perspective. So, Satyama, you have been in this corporate industry for so long, with 18 plus years of global experience in specifically for banking and financial services. How have you witnessed this entire field of data science evolve over the years?
Great. Thank you, COC. First of all, thank you, Analyttica Magazine, for enabling this, and thank you for all the participants to make time to attend. It's heartening to see so many people attending and interested in this field. That's a great sign. And needless to say, we are going through tough times, right? And like everything else, this shall pass as well. So the show must go on, right? And as Rahul very well articulated about how this field has evolved, not only through his lenses with his expertise in the academic space as well as the industry connect. So I think it fairly outlines how the landscape looks like, right? So I'm completely aligned with how he outlined the space. I just need to add a couple of things on a corporate perspective, right? So if you look at this field, there are three primary components which are in a balanced way will create the right ingredient for the success of this field itself, right? The first one is industry awareness. So there has to be an adoption across the industry, and as Dr. Rahul pointed out, banking and financial services, pharma, healthcare, even during the pandemic times in the last 1 year, a couple of years, there has been 50% growth in the job that there are open positions. The field is going to grow in a very rapid space, right? So which means there's a adoption that's going to happen across different industry verticals. As I started my career about 17, 18 years back with the financial industry, and financial services was one of the pioneers, right, in the adoption of analytics and data science. The variety of reasons why that is. One of the primary reasons is the sector itself is so regulated and it's so customer facing that the data management was kind of given focus very early on. So the availability of data, the data in a very structured way, created opportunities for application of analytics and data science, right? So financial services was the flag bearer, and now pretty much all sectors across functions in the industry verticals globally are using analytics and data science to create business impact. Second is the other methodologies and tools. So back then, right, SAS was the only, and many of you would know about SAS. SAS had the monopoly. This is the only tool which was available for if you are into the analytics and data science space. SAS was the oxygen, right? So SAS is still is prominent in some of the areas, but we have come a long way. So there are open source proliferation. There are others no-code to low-code kind of platforms which are helping. So there has been a tremendous growth in the methodologies and the tool space as well, which is helping drive the adoption. And the third one is the underlying technology itself, as Dr. Rahul also pointed out, that the technology advancement, the cloud, the proliferation of the cloud and the adoption around that. So the compute has become very, very inexpensive. There's on-demand compute as against, paying for the compute upfront. The data storage has become very, very cheap, right? So it's almost no cost of storing data. And the third one is the availability of data itself. So all this creates a very good recipe for adoption of analytics and data science to make to optimize business decisions. Now, one last metric before we move on. So if you look at today, about 85% of the companies globally who are enabled technologically have a data strategy, right? And 77% of them have invested in some form of analytics and an AI tool or technology, which is great, right? And this number is going to go up, and I'm very sure very soon none of the sectors, functions, verticals is going to be alienated out of this, right? So it's going to be 100% very soon. The challenge is the demonstration of the return on investment on analytics and AI, right? And that is where the talent comes into picture. And as we're going to, as we proceed, we're going to talk about what kind of skills, what kind of trait is required to be a good data scientist. But talent is going to be the number one factor which is going to create differentiation in this space, right?
Correct. Satyama very rightly pointed out. So if we are having any discussion about analytics or data science at the current era, we cannot avoid talking about the elephant in the room. That is the massive watershed moment that we have created in 2020. That was a pandemic. So it has majorly caused the world to pivot. Do you guys see the trend with regards to data science and analytics changing in the post-pandemic era? If yes, then how? And also, how are companies now hiring data science talent? Satyama, you can start with it, and then Rahul, you can join in and please tell me your thoughts as well.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. So see, the pandemic, right? I mean, it's like once in a lifetime event. Hopefully so, right? So we really hope that it's just we don't have to say it again. But it has created massive disruptions, right? So if you look at so there's going to be a pre-pandemic and a post-pandemic world from here on. Everybody's talking about the new normal, right? So quite a few things have changed, and quite a few things are really poised to change. And many of those are for the good. There's a lot of positive implications as well when dust settles, and we are at the other side. We will see the benefit of the fast changes that has the pandemic has brought in, right? So one of those have been acceleration of the digitalization efforts, right? So pre-pandemic, pretty much all the companies had the digital roadmap outlined, but then it has accelerated rapidly in the last one year, and it's gonna continue to do so, right? So I was reading somewhere the retail, the e-tail sector, the growth that it saw in the first 3 months post-pandemic, 3 to 4 months post-pandemic, is worth 10 years of growth, right? So that's incredible, the way it has changed. One thing that has been proven that the online adoption has gone really rapidly, and we have proven the hypothesis that if we want to go online, if there is a need to go do so, we will be able to do so. So talk about the healthcare sector, the education sector, the topic of today as well, where pretty much everybody went online, right? So we have proven the fact that if there's an intent to learn, doesn't matter where you are learning it from and how you're learning it from, as long as you have a mobile and phone access and internet access, and a lot of intent to learn, you will be able to do so, right? So that behavior is going to shift, which means how the companies are going to hire from here on. I really do not see a reason why there will be a geographic differences in anymore, right? So if you are able to do your job sitting in Bangalore for a company which is in California, and you are collaborating with somebody in Brazil, and your supervisor is in Australia, still you can be very, very efficient and effective. And it may happen very soon. You don't know, right? I mean, many companies are already have started doing it. Many of are contemplating it to make it geography agnostic, spatial agnostic, right? Which means that there is going to be a competition as well, right? If you want to land up in your dream job, so far your competition was limited to your local area talent, probably within the country or the city, state, or the country. Now you're going to compete globally, right? So which means you need to be right skilled, upskilled to face that competition, which is possible as well, right? So and there are many other changes which are happening as well. But let me just stop here and would like to hear Dr. Rao's perspective in this as well.
Yeah, it's a great question, Sujati. I mean, first of all, my heart goes out and I feel saddened by the current second COVID wave in India. I hope, like so many of like you, very close friends and relatives of mine in India are going through significant pain and health issues, right? And as we are going through this, we need to revisit and think how we do things going forward. The COVID pandemic has essentially disrupted many things in our life. It has brought like very bad things, but on the other things, there are always silver lining in things which are not nice, and it has also brought like significant changes in different domains, like how we work, how we communicate, what we do with our time, and it has like brought on so many changes. With respect to the data science and all this, I think Sautama has already pointed, which I want to reiterate once more, that it has really increased the demand for the use of data science in technology sector. Retail is one very good example where there was a sudden jump, right? You can see the stock market of companies like Shopify and other things jumping 4 or 5 fold in just a given year, right? And why is that growth? Because they were providing a platform which could be used by a lot of different small scale vendors and companies, and integrate that in a data science manner to scale the retail industry. So you can see that there are companies that were unknown before pandemic, and they have come to prominence, and they have leapfrogged and essentially disrupted the whole market. And some of that could be also attributed to the their planning, but some of that is also enabled by the data science aspect of it. Okay. And as I said, obviously, going forward, we are so now used to the tech from online shopping and other things, and this needs to be will continue growing in 2021 and beyond. And data scientists will help companies to make sense of the newly digitized business models and the digital revenue opportunities that are out there, right? And one of the things I recently read that according to a report by Deloitte, they conclude that 70% of the business plan to increase spending over the next 2 years on the data analytics capability because of what has happened in the pandemic. Okay, because everything has shifted. Recently I was doing a consultancy for a local sort of cosmetic company that I cannot name. They have now curated and created a data scientist team, and they were basically looking for other people to manage that team because they believe that they want to grow in that space. Okay. One other stat I want to point out that especially in the US, the Bureau of Labor Statistics considered data science to be the top 20 fastest growing occupation in this current market, and it's going to be one of the fastest growing. It's already like important, but it's the fastest growing market that is out there. And so this is a great news, not only for the large corporations who have metal and money to implement some of the data science in their program, but also for small businesses and Fortune 500 companies who will benefit significantly from leveraging the data analysis to strengthen their business strategies and increase the profit margins that they have. So that's the future I see. But this future is also based upon a lot of other things that are developing. For example, there is now the existence of this greater cloud infrastructure that has been enabled by Google, Amazon, and Microsoft Azure. And this kind of infrastructure allows you to have some skill set and initial training and very quickly leverage that expertise that can make a business sense, right? So this other infrastructure where the companies are investing in computing platforms, in the computing models that could be easily adopted and that could be easily leveraged to, do good data science and probably hopefully make case for the business analysis is also coming. Okay, and the third, which I'm a part of and excited to be a part of, that there is an exponential potential growth and development in the machine learning and AI field in academia in general, and also by large scale industries, right? Which is going to keep data science busy innovating. So there are a lot of innovations that are going to come going forward, because now people have seen that this has a value. So there are a lot of people who were not long term or were not working in the machine learning or AI for long term have now started coming into this space, and they are going to also innovate. So there will be a tremendous movement and tremendous development in terms of new algorithms, in terms of new data driven capabilities that people will be doing in next 5 to 10 years. And one of the classic example of going forward is the autonomy field, right? The autonomous driving vehicles and so on, autonomous robotics. The persistent aspect is purely data driven, right? So there in those class of domains, I see the exponential growth and exponential potential. So I see many ways after pandemic, essentially things changing in this domain.
Got it, Rahul. So according to Satyama and you, this data science and analytics is gaining massive traction, and companies are looking for skilled professionals who can actually, build efficient business continuity plan. So, Rahul, if you can share your thoughts, what do you think are the right attributes of a good data scientist in the current era?
No, that's a very good question. So, the way I think is like I teach courses here at the university. We're focused on machine learning and AI, and also in optimization, which is like a subtopic in the data science. I always think about like what is the good attribute of the students in my class, and what they need to have in order for them to be successful in the class. And then some of my students have gone out, and I always interact with, they're working in the industry, and I interact with them and see what they think about what should be the attributes of the data science, right? So first thing that is important for any good data scientist is to have critical thinking. Okay, the data scientist needs to be critical thinker, and they need to be able to apply an objective analysis of facts on a given topic or a problem before formulating any opinion and rendering judgments, right? So they need to be taking data as a basis to make their inference and make their judgments and so on. Okay, and the second thing with respect to the critical thinking is that they need to understand the business problem or the decisions being made. What context are you applying it? Okay, and should be able to model and formulate that as a data science problem. So this abstraction and formulation of the problem through the critical thinking process is very, very key. So that's number one attribute. The number two attribute, which is very, very important, that all top-notch data scientists know how to write good code. And there is no escaping this fact. You have to be really a good coder if you want to be, a good data scientist. And they are essentially comfortable with handling a variety of programming tasks. And that's, one of the unique skill set that they do. So to be really successful as a data scientist, the programming skills need to comprise both computational aspects, which is dealing with large volume of data, working with real-time data, and some computing infrastructure that are out there. Okay, and the second thing is like obviously the knowledge. So now coming back to the third most important attribute that a data scientist needs to have is their comfortness and their ability to use math as a basis to reason going forward. Okay, data science is probably not a good career choice for people who don't like or are not very proficient with math, and that's one of the things that I have seen, that people who do struggle with it tend to lose interest in data science educational programs. So okay, the role of data scientists is to essentially leverage their deep expertise in mathematics to develop statistical model or some model that could be used to develop like some key business strategy or to infer some actionable information that is out there. Okay, and when I'm talking about math, we are not talking about math at a rocket science level or very complex math where you have to do solve differential equation or calculus. That's not the case. But familiarity with matrices, familiarity with the optimization, which are moderately easy concept to grasp if you're willing to spend that time, is definitely a needed requisite skill set that you will need. Right? So that's the third one. And the fourth one is communication. And when I say about communication, it's not about communicating with the data itself, right? And so this idea of the storytelling ability through data, that what I mean by communication in the context of data science. What I want to do is, the data scientist should be able to, use the tools, translate that external information, and to be clearly able to communicate that to the stakeholders for whom they're working, all right? So being at the intersection of business, technology, and data scientists needs to adopt at storytelling to each of the stakeholders, and that storytelling has to be guided and based upon the data science or the processing that they have done about the algorithms, okay? And finally, I think in general, this is true for probably many other fields too, that they need to have also good problem solving and domain knowledge, right? Now, you can be a general data scientist and you can be a professor who is working in developing machine learning and AI, but when you go in the practical marketplace, I think having a in-depth understanding of a domain also allows you to innovate and work with the data science algorithms that are out there. So having previous background, domain, and focus in a very specific domain, and then probably learning new skills in data science to leverage that domain, I think that is optimal way to go forward. And that is also a key where you cannot apply. You can apply that, and you can be doing the research in AI and machine learning, but when you're applying it, having a strong domain knowledge is also very quintessential. So those are like 4 or 5 attributes I think are important for a good data scientist.
Correct, Rahul. Rightly mentioned that if somebody doesn't like maths or statistics, I'm guessing they should not pursue a career in data science, right? And also, like you mentioned, like storytelling must be very critical in terms of making your data understandable to the rest of the organization and the stakeholders. So right. So Satyama, considering you've been in this industry as well, so what do you think about these attributes? Are these the attributes that companies are actually looking for?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Cannot agree more, right? And great to see that the academia is also on the same page here, as I hear from Rahul. So see, sometime back, and he pointed out critical thinking, like a couple of times with a lot of emphasis there. In my experience, throughout practicing this field for a couple of decades now, that is one trait that stands out, right? Has been there forever, is going to be there forever, right? So how do you, a lot of things are going to get commoditized, right? Programming skills is definitely going to be necessary, but there are a lot of low code and no code platforms also, which is going to do the job. Whereas programming, at least one language that you need to pick and practice and try to master on, it could be Python or R or any other programming language. This is not only helps you with your job in the professional world, but also create a lot of skill sets in you in terms of logical thinking, connecting the dots, applying to solve for the right problems, right? But critical thinking, problem solving, the adaptability and flexibility, because I think the field is going to evolve fairly rapidly, and it's always going to be the survival and also growth for the fittest and not for the best, right? So you need to have an intent and the acumen to keep on rediscovering yourself, and there are a lot of intent to learn new skills. You need to be innovative, creative. Those are the soft skills. And in fact, LinkedIn, I remember, did a primary research, a survey confined to the Asia Pacific and Australia region a few months back, I think 6 to 8 months back. And one of the soft skills which came, and this was not only focused on analytics and data science, but very true for this field, is critical thinking, problem solving, and communication, collaboration. Right? So these are very important. Translation is very important, as Dr. Rahul pointed out, that how do you actually connect your solution to the problem, where you start with identification of the problem and not try to build a set of solution and look for the problem where it can fit in, but try with the context and the problem and try to map your analytics and data science solution to solve for that problem, right? So I think, yeah, those are the couple of things that I would like to add, but I think it's very well summarized by Rahul, and I think those are the traits that will make a good data scientist not only today but for it'll make them future proof if some of this gets mastered pretty soon.
Correct. So Rahul, if we get before I go for the next question with Rahul, for all the attendees, please drop in your questions in the Q&A tab. Satyamar and Rahul both will be taking up questions in the last 15 to 20 minutes to the session. So please drop in your questions in the Q&A tab. Coming back to you, Rahul, you have been a prominent academician and a practitioner of data science and machine learning since a really long time. What do you think is the most effective pedagogical way to learn data science, covering this entire gap of traditional online learning? So, yeah, if you share your thoughts.
That's great. That's a great question. We do research in AI machine learning, and there has been a lot of research done in the best pedagogy to teach certain things, right? And I don't do research in basic pedagogy, but my experience comes from teaching basically AI and machine learning types of classes to different students and stuff like that. And also I can relate to my experience in teaching at or delivering courses in online platforms such as Coursera. And I have a couple of courses in manufacturing domain that I have posted, and I have close to 50,000 students who have taken those courses, right? And so what I get from such online and also in practical teaching, and this is like one of the things that actually I have to answer: why should I earning money by teaching students in the college while there is an online platform that is out there, right? And there is a marked differences between those two things. So what I've seen, online platform, it has explored like some of the domains like e-tail and retail, and there are a lot of content that are out there. And those contents are also now in organized format. So you have, platforms like Coursera and other platforms where you can go and learn on your own. Okay, and having taught at Coursera, one of the things I see is, when we get students in those courses, right, typically the completion rate of those courses are not that drastically high. Okay, and I would not quote the exact numbers there, but there is a low amount of completion, and the reason for that is these are students who are completing these courses are really extremely self-motivated, and they are extremely curious about that, and they have energy and domain expertise to already go through those courses and complete them. Whereas a lot of students who basically start those courses, they did not complete those courses. Okay, and the question for us as a teacher is like, what can we do to help those students who are not completing? It's not the obviously the things who are motivated they're going to do, but how can we help the students who are not completing this course? And especially given that we are in the data science field, one of the key aspects that I think about completing, you can get a theoretical knowledge and other things, but there is essentially a hand-holding approach or a helping approach where we are teaching this practical and theoretical knowledge about the machine learning and data science along with coding. So the way I have learned from this and evolved is like now my classes and things like the way I teach is obviously it has to have a theoretical component, it has to have the business case of it, it has to have a presentation, but on top of that we have to have a practical aspect of basically devoting resources, devoting time to teach the coding and other aspect not in a class setting, but in a practical setting. And I think that is very important aspect, which is not provided by the online courses like Coursera and stuff like that. You can go and you have to code on here, but let's say if you're coding and you're stuck and you have no help, right? So where do you go and where do you find that help? And helping those students to just solve that minor problem and help them, go to the next step, and then they can run on themselves, right? So this aspect of providing a content, then that content being oriented with practical programming exercises, hand holding, and taking those students through that is going to be probably very important in training and increasing these numbers of the sort of quote unquote dropout students, right? And it's not hard. I think all the students, we have seen the demographics of the students, we have seen the education of the students. The demographics tells us like the students have potential, they can easily complete this, but sometimes they get stuck, and once they get stuck, probably they lose the motivation. So that's the gap where you have this practical programming experience through some platform, through some media or channel that you need to be focusing on to grow this. So that, I think that's the key aspect from the teaching point, where obviously we have a great content. Obviously, great content always helps, right? That keeps the students engaged. But helping them with the programming assignment and pushing them through when they need help is one of the key aspects of increasing and basically doing or teaching data science in more effective.
Correct. That's rightly said, Rahul. So Satyama, to understand your perspective, taking cue from what Rahul mentioned on the best way to learn data science and the gaps that are currently existing in the online learning environment, how do you think LEAPS program is addressing such gaps or going beyond the traditional learning methodologies?
Sure. No, thank you for the question. And again, there are right.
Satyama, there's a bit of lag.
Which creates that kind of recipe with learning in the forest.
Satyama, I think
Forces learning
from your side
the
or
right way, and as Rahul has now, his experiences are really value. I will put a bit of a.
I think there's a bit of a lag.
Provide. Am I audible?
Now you are.
Okay, I just saw a pop-up. Am I audible? Can one of you confirm?
Yeah. You might have to start answer one more time. Rahul, I think we are losing him over the internet.
Sure.
Me now?
Yeah, it's on and off, Satyama, I think.
I can see the screen.
Satyama, can you hear us? We'll give it a little bit of time for him to. I think he's going to rejoin, but yeah. But very rightly pointed out, Rahul, the gaps that is currently existing in these online courses, and what we can actually do to give a little bit of push for all the candidates that are actually pursuing such courses. So that is very critical.
Okay, yeah, now I can hear.
Yeah.
No.
Satyama, we can't see you.
I cannot. Okay, how about now?
We still can't see you, but we can hear you though. Well, I think he needs a bit more time. So attendees, we are really sorry for this lag. Allow us a bit of time. Allow Satyama to join in, and we'll take it forward from there.
Meanwhile, Varun, if there are questions from the audience, we can start taking them.
Sure. Give me a second. I'll start sending them out.
Yeah. Attendees, please drop in your question in the meantime. I mean, Rahul can take a few questions right now till we give time for Satyama to join in back. So please drop in your questions about anything, any career related. Rahul would be happy to answer all the questions. Satyama, can you hear us? I think if there's an issue, I think we can just go ahead with your audio. I mean, the video feed might take a little bit of more bandwidth. Well, I think this is the con of the post-pandemic sessions that we have to have right now. This is a new normal where we might have to hold on for a few minutes and get back to their bandwidth. Yeah. Okay. So Rahul, let's take one question till we have Satyama back with us. I have one question where if somebody is asking, working as a product manager with 4 years of work experience, how would this program help in my career with no knowledge of any program?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And again, we already talked about the attributes that is needed. I think I have been interacting with a lot of people who definitely understand that the data science field is going to be prominent and important going forward, and there is a lot of traction. This natural traction, and this is going to be one of the hottest field going forward. So there is no debate about that. But then, in that context, how do a person who does not have a data science background come into and participate, right? And that's always about this what I call uplifting and learning to learn attitude. So if you have that attitude, where even if you do not have let's say a programming background, but if you really believe that this is something that you want to do, and then if you have this innate ability to learn new things, then you should be fine. Okay. And code, when we're talking about this, is not very, very difficult, right? As Satyama was also mentioning that nowadays you have, sort of coding to no coding platform. And one of the things, the way I see it, if you have a good understanding of data science, the field is going to evolve in such a way that a lot of programming will be automatically done for you. You need to just understand the context and build, compose building blocks. And this is something that you can also see in the data science field, where there are tremendous amount of frameworks in TensorFlow and other things that have been created that allows you to basically do very effective programming with few lines of code, right? So you do have to, in your case, I think you definitely have to, start taking the initiative in learning a programming language. And that should be easy if you are motivated. And again, we know that if you're passionate and motivated, then you have this drive to learn new things. And that will help you in gaining the programming aspect. And once you do that, and one of the nice things with the data science is like you can see, it's a computational platform. So whatever you do, you tend to see the output very, very quickly. And so that will also give you this, immediate sort of, reward system. And through coding and programming, you will be able to see the results, and that will also help you learn different things. So in short, I think, yes, if you're motivated and passionate, then you can learn programming very, very quickly. It's not very difficult. And a lot of people here have been able to do that. It's just how passionate you are. And then, again, the space is evolving. The coding is getting modularized, and different things are going to get connected. You need to have a basic understanding. Probably that will come through 1 or 2 years of experience in actually working in the data science field. Once you have that, I think you will be fine in terms of reusing a lot of different code that exists. You're reusing the pipeline that are out there, which can help you in effectively reducing your coding time that you need. But yes, as I mentioned, one of the attributes of the data scientist is that you have to have some coding background for sure, and that for your case should be coming for your passion from the data science, and it's not very difficult to learn. In fact, the coding is far easier when you have experience and when you have motivation, rather than just learning it as a course. Okay.
Correct. We have a similar question. So somebody is asking, Piyush Thakur is asking, do we need to have a professional degree to become a data scientist, or we can become one using open source material on web? You have sort of answered that, but please share your thoughts again.
Yeah, and so this is a great question, and the question is great because the way the education has been disrupted, like tech industries and retail industry, is that anyone, and as I already mentioned, that if you're self-motivated and if you want to learn something, the things have evolved in such a way in the last 7 to 10 years that you do not need a professional degree. Okay, and you can learn on your own, and there is a lot of great quality content out there, and some of them are very, very well organized that you can take, and so a lot of thinking has gone into it, and it's organized. You can take and you can learn, and you can become very, very proficient, right? So that in the course content, then adoption of things like GitHub, where people are posting codes and other things, you get the code of implemented paper, implemented work, and other things which you can, if you have some background, you can easily learn, right? So coming back to your answer, you do not need to have a professional degree. That's not going to, that's not a prerequisite. You can learn it on your own. That's always doable. And the second thought, the third most important thing that you should be also thinking is, initially there might be, just because you do not have a background, you might get some, hiccups and stuff like that. But once you show what you have been able to do, once you show the coding, and once you show the certificates and other things that you have taken as a part of your career growth outside of your working and or other things that you have done, that will also break the barriers for you coming into the data science industry in general, and that will get you kick-started. And once you have some experience on the project, and you're gold anyways, right? So
correct. So you mentioned that when we're talking about the attributes, you mentioned domain knowledge is very critical in terms of becoming a good data scientist. So how much of an impact does domain knowledge have on a data scientist performance? Hi Shatavar, we were just waiting for you. We can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I've been kind of struggling for the last 5 minutes. Talk about the technology progress, and simple things still gives you the same trouble that you used to give 10 years back. So I'm sorry, everybody, about this. Please continue.
Yeah, so we were actually just finishing one up question, and then we'll probably go back to what we were discussing before. So Rahul, if you can just share a little bit of understanding on how much a domain knowledge has an impact on a data scientist performance.
Yeah, so as I said, domain knowledge will help you articulate the question better. That might make better business sense, right? A journalist in machine learning and so two things that will help. Journalist will understand it, but since he may not have the domain expertise, that might not help him, right? So one of the things that journalist, data scientist might be needed is he has to interact with the domain expertise and try to convert his thought. And so I think the data science is domain knowledge is important. The second, also from the implementation point of view, from the data science aspect of it, there are certain class of techniques and algorithms that are more applicable in a certain domain than in other domains. For example, you might have a natural language processing problem which requires a different types of expertise than purely a regression problem or a classification or a computer vision type of problem, right? So different algorithms are more pertinent to different domains, and given that you will be coming from a domain, it will become naturally incumbent upon you to focus on a certain class and getting expertise in the certain class of algorithms that you have, right? So that's the second aspect that is important. Based upon your domain, you will become really expert in certain very specific types of data science techniques that you can use. So those are the two things I think about.
Correct. Satyamai, please share your thoughts on this, and then probably we'll dive into how LEAPS can actually help data scientists make their career. So please, how much a domain knowledge would impact a data science performance?
Yeah, no, absolutely important, and that's the essence behind what we are trying to do all this while, right? As Analyttica, as a company. So I'll just give a little bit of a background, and then come to the essence of LEAPS and how is it different, and why do we think it will add value to a lot of aspirants in this field, right? So, so look, I mean, we are an analytics and AI, platform solutions company, and I don't want to make this a sales pitch, but it's very important for me to communicate clearly about why we are offering and why is it makes sense, right? And why is it valuable? So so pre-pandemic we were focusing for the education technology space. We were focusing on enterprises, B2B as the area of focus, and we are getting a very encouraging adoption, right, across the board, across different enterprises that we have been joining hands in their skilling digitalization journey, right? Now, during pandemic, and right about this time last year, where we anticipated the pull of the field, and it really made sense to accelerate our offering in the B2C space and bring to the forefront. So in April, we launched our direct-to-consumer version of LEAPS, and very soon, in a year, we got close to 200,000 users, registered users in this platform, and about 50 to 60% of them are very active, right? So that gave us a lot of data points. At the same time, we also got a lot of feedback, right, in terms of improving our offering on a variety of ways, and we do welcome that. We are constantly kind of improving our offering based on the direct user feedback. It's really valuable. Now, one of the questions that came in is from the career switchers, right, who are in the adjacent fields, and given they are in the IT enabled sector, what is in it for them, and what is that they need to do to switch to the analytics and data science area, right? So as some of the discussions today, as well as previous day that we have been having with the industry and academia experts, it is now kind of becoming agnostic to your field of education. Your interest becomes very, very important, right? Like Dr. Rahul also said, that you need to be math savvy, right? You don't need to be a rocket scientist, or don't need to aspire to be a rocket scientist, but the fundamentals of mathematics and statistics you really at least have interest on. And a lot of curiosity, a lot of ability to critically examine, critical thinking, domain understanding, curiosity about connecting the dots to apply what you learn in a real environment, right? So we kind of amalgamated all these things, and really felt the need of launching a long-term program, which will be a combination of synchronous as well as asynchronous mode, right? So we are bringing in a lot of veterans in the field who have leadership experience, practice experience in the field across different analytically savvy data organizations. Also, the academicians like Dr. Rahul has spent a lot of time curating the program, giving us very valuable advice from his real practical experience in this field for quite some time now. He has agreed to deliver quite a few sessions, handhold and mentor the participants as well. Likewise, we have a professor from IIM Ahmedabad who is going to get involved. We are going to have other industry and academia practitioners and experts as well to offer this program. Now, one of the real emphasis this program is going to emphasize on is the practical hands-on learning approach, and that's where our platform comes into play. It's an innovative platform which has a patent in the education space for analytics and AI skilling, and it will motivate the learner to be hands-on. So they get a lot of opportunity to do projects which are through which they will be able to build their portfolio. And we have an exposure of more than 50 curated projects spanning across different industry verticals. So you're going to have a lot of projects that you get your hands on around BFS, retail, CPG, healthcare, manufacturing, sports analytics, right? In a variety of functional areas as well. There are quite a bit of hackathons across each of the learning blocks where there is a compete and collaborate kind of learning ability as well. There's a gamification involved as part of the platform. And what we are doing is we are making this platform access free for lifetime, right, for the participants. And it has a very important connotation in their learning journey, right? Because as many of you would agree, that the learning is for lifelong, right? So even if you tomorrow land into your job role, it doesn't mean that your learning will stop there, right? So you have to be able to continuously learning all through your professional career, and the platform will be your guide by the side, because we are making very good care to keep the platform abreast with all the developments that is happening in analytics, data science, and machine learning and AI space, and it is creating a learning ecosystem for the learner to experience, right? And so experiential nature of learning. So all these factors have been very carefully thought through to give the best learning experience, so that it becomes very practical, hands-on, experiential, and the skill gets developed. So as I was going through one of the statistics, that there are in another decade there's going to be about 300 million jobs, right, which are going to change. What does that mean? That means that the job with the role that stands today, the job description that stands today, will going to drastically change in the next 10 years. So 300 million is sizable. It's almost the population of the United States, right? So and 75 million of those jobs will never get fulfilled because of the lack of skill. Okay, so what the companies will start doing now, instead of hiring based on the job description, so if you have done one kind of job, that makes you eligible for doing the similar kind of job. But what if your job role itself changes, right? So there's a massive migration that's going to happen from job description to skill description. So you need to be prepared for that skill description, so that you are going to fit for the job, not for today, but for future as well, right? So hence ability to continuously learn, a lot of intent towards learning, and the practical hands-on learn by doing approach is going to be paramount, hence, right? Now, one of the other metric, and then I'll stop here to hear Dr. Law's perspective on this as well, and then open it up for questions, is a very encouraging metric that we are getting in LEAPS is the completion rate. So in the online education environment, Coursera is an example. There are MOOCs and other third parties as well. But the completion rate is always a challenge. It's not only because the learners are not motivated, but also the environment may not be helping the way it should to drive them towards completion rate. So in LEAPS, for the B2C environment, what we have seen, out of 2 learners who start the course in terms of executing the first function or executing their first code, 1 out of 2 codes goes about completing. That is a little more than 50% of completion rate, which is 2.5 to 3 times of the industry benchmark. So it creates an environment where the learning becomes motivational as well. So aiding that with the synchronous mode of the instructors, highly experienced instructors, academicians, we are very confident that it will create a lot of value for the learners.
Correct, Shatama. So we have one specific question regarding the LEAPS program. So I would like you to take that up quickly. So is the LEAPS program suitable for highly experienced people? For example, I have 20 years in experience in sales and marketing, and I want to position myself in the data science domain.
Yes, so like I don't know if I should say this, but like age is a number, right? Experience is a number as well. Now experience has its own value, absolutely. So when you are experienced in one field, which makes you do certain things in the other field better as well, if you are rightly applying your experience, right? So I do not see a reason why somebody would stop not participating in this program if they are 15, 20, 30 years of experience, right? We as an indicative, we have put it as a minimum, 2 to 3 years of experience, because we wanted to make a common homogeneous cohort in terms of their experience, their learning abilities as well. But somebody having more number of years experiences can actually be good if they are bringing in a lot of intent to learn new skills. Sure. So we are designing it such a way that it is going to be agnostic, and as it is divided into three learning blocks, there's a lot of cross-pollination among the participants who learn not only in terms of their experience level, but also in terms of cross-geography as well. We are seeing a lot of applications coming in from United States, Europe, Southeast Asia as well. And we are also seeing varying degree of experiences among the applicants. So yeah, the short answer is yes. You absolutely can go ahead and apply. Rahul, you want to add something to that?
Yeah. So I think me being from data science, I really welcome people who have a lot of experience in a domain which is not data science, because these are the people who are going to carry and leverage the data science domain knowledge and apply them in a useful field. So for you, I think, we will be excited to have you in this and leverage the data science aspect to do bigger and greater things in your work, in your domain for first. And the second thing, is, when you gain experience, right? One of the things that you need in order for you to technically manage a large cohort of people, or execute different projects, is the technical background. Even though you are not probably the expert and you are not doing the hands-on things day by day, but you need to have some comprehensive understanding, or at least a broad understanding of what is underlying that field that will help you in guiding. So in terms of you, let's say if you take something like this as a course, you will at least have a good understanding of what data science is, and given your marketing background, you will be able to use that expertise to guide technically the team to allocate the time and resources properly. So that's another way you can probably use this training to manage people and resources by understanding what is involved in this class of techniques and stuff.
Correct. So before we open the session to taking Q&As from the attendees, Satyabha, one more thing that we would like to know from you. Considering with the current era, there are plethora of courses that are available. So how do you think it hinders the learners to choose the correct course? Like, how do you think LEAPS can help or stands out in the market?
Yes, see today, I can completely understand this question, right? There is it's actually a problem of plenty, right? So there's a lot of choices which are available, a lot of free resources in the internet, which is a good thing, but it could be not so good thing as well, right? Because when you have so much choices to choose from, it definitely creates a confusion and stress in the system, right? So there are, and I'm not going to talk about the courses which are the materials, the courses, the providers which are available out there, but I'm going to focus on how LEAPS is different, right? And now on many things it cannot be different because of the nature of the field, but what we try to emphasize a lot on a highly interactive form of learning, where the learner is going to continuously interact with the machine, and that's where our IP lies, where even if when you are not interacting with the the instructor in a synchronous mode, there is a relationship that you are building with the machine that is built for you, right? So what does that mean? That means a lot of business cases are presented in the form of simulation. So when you are solving a problem, right, for an industry vertical. So for example, if you want to build do a market basket analysis to understand the relationship among the product buying pattern and the recommendation engine that needs to be developed because of that, you are actually going ahead and building that in the platform, right, where you are encouraged to be moved in the right direction, so that that project which is in front of you is presented in a simulated manner with a data which is simulated but very close to the real industry data. So as you go through doing that, along the line, you get experienced in solving certain kind of problems. And when you get exposed to variety of problems across different industry verticals, there's a cross-pollination that also enhances that experience. So tomorrow, when you end up in starting your career in this industry or switching to this industry, you are not starting with ground zero, because you already are experienced in the simulated environment, right? So that is one of the primary differentiation, where it is highly interactive and it's not one way. Right now, there's an emphasis which is given on building your skill portfolio. So there will be a portfolio that you'll be building along the way, and you'll be able to showcase that in the right forum if you like, right? And then the platform access is going to be with you for pretty much as long as you want, so that you're continuously abreast with what's happening in the industry, and be kind of in line with where the industry is headed. And obviously there are other, definitely there are other elements of making the learning very gamified. It's going to be we try to provide career assistance as well in the right way possible, and definitely you are going to have a panel of mentors who have already proven themselves in the field, both in terms of and of it.
LEAPS programs also comes with NASSCOM certification and mentorship, I think. So, like you mentioned, mentorship already included. Yeah. Yes.
So a lot of entities are doing a lot of things in this space, right? So as many of you know that NASSCOM has a very ambitious initiative called Future Skills, and we are participating in this Future Skills endeavor. And we have been received very well. We are actually, our virtual lab is #1 among all other participation there. Now they have something called National Occupation Standard, right? So they have done a lot of research, and this has been audited by ENY and other consulting agencies which are involved to standard, with an attempt to standardize the field. So if you look at the analytics field globally, has about 55 different job roles, right? That's pretty sizable, right? But all of those could be classified into 3 big job families: data analyst, business analyst, and data scientist, right? So tomorrow, if you want to be a ML ops engineer or a machine learning modeler, you will fall under one of these categories. But there is the field doesn't have that much of a standardization yet, right? Like other fields have. So NASSCOM is trying to standardize it. So they have come up with some national occupation standard, and many of our courses go through that rigorous audit process to qualify for the NOSes, right? So so yeah, those standards are kind of maintained and driven as well.
Okay, I think now we can open the session to take a few questions from the attendees. I can see a few that has already been dropped down by a few attendees. So let's take one for now. Let's start with, I have no delivery and practical experience in data science. Does LEAPS program covers this gap of delivery experience?
Okay.
Satyavan, you can.
Yeah, sure. And Dr. Rahul, you also add your thoughts, if you will. So yes, look, I mean, the intent and interest is paramount, right? So if you have a high degree of interest in the field if you are quant savvy, and if you have some understanding of one programming language or the other. Although this 10-month program that we have doesn't expect you to be a programmer as a prerequisite, because there is in the first block, there's quite a bit of emphasis on Python programming. That's part of the curriculum, so it will be kind of built on from scratch. So that is not a prerequisite at all, right? If you do not have a data science and analytics delivery experience, that's absolutely fine too, because as you navigate through the different blocks, as you will be starting with doing certain simple projects and graduating into the complex ones, you will be developing that skill along the way, so that towards the end of the program, you'll be able to build your portfolio of project simulations, participating in hackathons, as well as the theoretical knowledge concept, which will prepare you for that, right? So no prerequisite on having data science or analytics development or delivery experience for this program.
Correct. Rahul, you want to add your thoughts onto it?
Yeah. So you are not in a different boat than a lot of people who are going to come into the data science field. A lot of people are going to start upskilling their data science skills now. And this is, as I said, this is because of the natural growth of the field and how important it is becoming. And a lot of people are going to uplift who are in the same boat, who probably do not have any expertise as of right now, but they will need this expertise. And this is what I pointed out. The industry is growing at a rapid rate, like 125 billion by 2025. That's like unheard of, right? And there is no way all college and universities are going to be able to provide that amount of workforce directly into the data science field. So a lot of people who do not have, they have to upskill, they have to learn, and then get into this field. So there will be tremendous, there will be so much of demand for data scientists in this future. That once you have a good skill set, it doesn't matter what your background is, you will be able to find a lot of lucrative job offers and opportunities in the field for sure.
Correct. Satyama, if you can answer one more question, like why the eligibility requires 2 years of experience for LEAPS program? Can a fresher can also take it or apply for it?
So it's a guideline really, and not a very hardline eligibility. We would encourage, if you have the interest and in the field, please do apply, because we have the first cohort starts on 26 June, but we have plans to launch a cohort of the program every couple months, so that by a rolling window of a year level, we are running 4 to 5 cohorts in parallel, right? So the guideline is 2 to 6 years, but if you have deep interest in the field and if you are quant savvy, feel free to apply, right? So it's not a strict eligibility criteria actually.
Correct. There's one general question from Shailesh. He's asking, during PGD SBA course, I have used Python for internal assessments delivery. How important is it to also have a knowledge and skills in R to be relevant? Rahul, if you want to take this up.
Sure. I think, you can take any programming language. It does not matter. The point is like, if you have a programming knowledge in Python, then transferring that knowledge to R is very, very simple, because programming is like a concept, right? It has some basic structure that you need to understand, that you have to define variables, you have to do this for loops, there are conditions that you need to apply, and once you have in that one programming language, you can easily take some time and adapt to a new language very, very easily. The idea is to learn new syntax, right? So if you have one, that's good. In fact, in your case, it's good that you have Python, which is a little bit more popular right now compared to R. But if you want to convert that knowledge domain to R, that should be fine. Okay, and going forward, the way I see both, depending upon what technology exists at different companies, they are using Python or R in general to integrate with the platforms that are out there, right? So, I don't see once you have the programming ability, I don't see it being a very difficult that you cannot transfer that knowledge to a completely different programming language.
Correct. Satyabhai, what do you think? What do you think about this
Yes,
programming?
Yeah, no, absolutely aligned with what Rahul said, that it doesn't really matter. You don't need to know both, is what I can say, right? If you know Python, you are in a great place because Python is widely getting accepted across different industry verticals, right? Even the protected ones like BFS and BFS and healthcare is now opening up to open source, right? So Python and R are the two most popular, and Python is actually even more popular. But if you want to switch to R, as Dr. Rahul said, it's very transferable. If you have interest and some level of expertise in one language.
Correct. Ashish is asking, what is the future of machine learning in chemical engineering field? So, if any of you guys want to take this up.
Yeah, so it's fantastic future, right? Any field, this is a fantastic future, especially in chemical engineering, a great future. For example, one of the things that I understand that chemical engineering, especially in the industrial application, is a very process and oriented industry, right? And it's very different than traditional manufacturing industry where you're focusing on a discrete part manufacturing and you're focusing on a single. Rather than that, in chemical engineering, for example, if whatever you're using, you have pipeline, right? And your production is continuous, so your product is basically coming out continuously. Now, if you look into one of the aspects that I want to focus on and talk about is in continuous manufacturing domain or continuous process domain, there is a tremendous application of industrial Internet of Things. So people are now trying to place a lot of sensors across various points in the continuous manufacturing process and collect that data to basically increase the efficiency of the continuous production systems that are out there, right? So that's one space that is there. In other space, like in chemical engineering, discovery of new chemicals, right? That is a field that has been dominated by AI and machine learning. So if you read recent papers, I mean, a lot of work in AI and machine learning is being used to basically find new chemical compositions that can solve very, very specific problems. So one of the great problems in chemical engineering is doing what I call inverse problem solving. So you know that this is the problem and you want to find out a solution that will solve that problem or a chemical composition that will solve that problem. AI, machine learning, and data science is a big enabler of this inverse problem solving. So those are the two quick examples that comes to my mind that will make a lot of impact in chemical engineering process going forward.
Dr. Moy, please, we would like to know your thoughts as well on this.
Yeah, so not my expertise area, and as Dr. Rahul's articulated, I think it's pretty much all of the fields are going to get benefited out of the application. So one of our clients, right, the B2B clients is a very large Indian conglomerate. They have been using the LEAPS platform and a variant of the LEAPS platform for the enterprises, where one of the strategic business units, they work on manufacturing and chemical grade analysis, and then translating into some commercial grades. So that is where we are seeing actually a lot of engineers and data scientists are experimenting with machine learning and AI in the chemical grade definition space, where they are applying machine learning to identify the quality of grades towards the commercial production of certain chemicals, right? So I'm sure there's a lot of other application in this field, like other industry verticals is going to get a lot of traction.
Correct. So we are nearing the end. I mean, we passed the time though, but we would like to. There are a lot of questions that are coming in, so we can't. One more question before we wrap up the session. Rahul, you mentioned that the great thing that you mentioned, that if somebody is poor in maths, they should not pursue a career in data science. However, somebody is actually asking, what if that person is actually possess an interest in learning machine learning, data science, or AI? Is this possible?
Yeah, I think interest, passion trumps all other things, and that is a big believer. If you're really interested and passionate about something, you can do unimaginable things. And this is not an unimaginable. This is just simply learning a course, and this is not a very challenging task. So if you have real passion and real interest, then nothing is impossible for you, right? That's the first thing that I want. So if you're passionate, you can bring up, and taking the way I articulated, probably it is coming out a little bit strong, but in data science, the math is not like you're solving differential equation or you're solving integrals of a high dimension where there is a computational complexity around it. It's basically understanding some basic matrix operations. So if you're just okay with matrix theory, and with the help, with the teaching, and with your interest, that you can easily build upon those skill set. Okay.
Correct. Satyama, what do you think? If somebody possesses an interest in, please share your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely agree. If you have the passion to do something, please go ahead and do it. Right, the skill will follow. If you're interested, nothing is impossible. You should pursue. Like my boss always say, right? Analytics is a blend of science and art. So it's not only science. So if you have artistic bend of mind, you are welcome in this field, because there's going to be a serious dearth of the connectors, storytellers, and analytics translators, right? So, it's not a constraint anymore that if you are not from a certain field, you cannot do certain things.
Yeah, and I could truly believe that there's a cross migration, right? A lot of people in the data science who have just let's say a fresher type of person who has just a knowledge of data science, they will go and learn new domains where they will apply the data science. Whereas on the other sector, the people who have this expertise and domain knowledge, they will learn the data science and they will apply it, right? So it doesn't matter if you have a domain knowledge, if you have a confidence. I think probably this is a good program to get into, right, without taking any formal degrees and stuff like that. Get into quickly and learn hands-on things, which is practical, and have this skill that now you can be confident that this topic and you can apply this topic on a wide variety of problems, and hopefully that will help you.
Okay, so on a concluding note, I would just like to know one thing from both of you. What are your advice or suggestion for aspiring data scientists? So Satyama, please start, and Rahul, please share your thoughts as well.
Yeah, I think try to recognize and develop your critical thinking and problem solving skills. Practice a lot, right? Be curious, be observant, and try to start with the problem and not with the solution. So one thing that I still notice that a lot of aspirants in the field, they start with building a solution, right, without even having a very good understanding of why are this building the solution for. Many of the CVs that come, they are rich with neural networks, deep learning, and AI knowledge that they have, but they haven't spent a lot of time into the data, right? So as a data scientist, you will have to build a very strong relationship with the data. You have to roll your sleeves up and then dive into the data with the aspiration to get insights out of it. And you need to kind of build that bend of mind, because I can put my right hand right here to tell you that you will not be straight away building fancy models from day one, right? If somebody is telling that to you, do not believe, because you need to start with data. You need to spend a lot of time doing the hard things of cleaning your data, massaging your data, bringing it into a shape so that it starts to make sense. And then you need to ask to create impact, right? So business fundamentals are not going to change even 20 years from now, right? So business still will operate on top line and bottom line, and you need to grow the top line and somehow reduce the the bottom line, mitigate for risks, right? So those three metrics need to connect to whatever you do. So you need to have a very good recognition of you. You cannot alienate yourself from business understanding, domain focus, and be ability to have a very deep relationship with the data, with always a problem solving and critical thinking hat on, right? If you recognize these aspects really well, then you can do wonders in this field.
Correct. Perfect. Rahul, what are your thoughts on it? What are your suggestions?
So I will just leave with just one single thought, because like Sautama has already covered most of it. And the thought is like, there is a reason, and we have already talked about it a lot in this webinar, that there is a natural, this environment that data science is going to be really a popular field in next 10 to 15 years. There is no question. Okay. And if that's the thing, right, who will leverage that field? The person who is going to train and upskill right now are the person who are going to benefit the most, because the early you get it, the better you are going to do in that field, right? So that's the one of the most important thing I want to say, that somehow I strongly believe that this is the right time to get into the data science field, because it's going to really grow and explode. And if you upskill and you get into the marketplace with this kind of skill set, your future is going to be really, really great. So that's the main point I want to drive.
So those were like great insights from you, Rahul and Satyavay, and the session was wonderful. I'm sure the attendees had a lot of understanding as to how the data science is going to evolve and how to create a career. Also, a lot about the LEAPS program. So I think the link of the LEAPS program has already been pasted on the chat. So please, guys, go ahead and have a look at it. It will give you a vast understanding of how the program works, what all are included. And thank you once again. Thank you, Satyamay. Thank you, Rahul. It was a great session.
Thank you very much, Sujati.
Thank you, Sujati. You did a wonderful job curating and coordinating this. Thank you very much to you and Analytics India Magazine to enable this. Thank you, everybody who took the time out to participate. Stay safe, stay at home, and be strong. We're going through difficult times. It will get over soon. And thank you again. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Satyamay. Thank you, Rahul.